Welcome to this resource and tool that I've included in the program on the brainstorming session, the training session. I wanted to give you a concept, a picture, a visual that you could use every time you're looking at brainstorming. So I want you to be able to go back to this resource whenever you think about brainstorming, if it's not flowing for you for whatever reason. So the first thing I want to talk about is brainstorming as a group. Whenever you hear brainstorming, it's usually between two or more people. When you're brainstorming at work, when you're brainstorming, two minds are better than one is what sort of goes through that process. But what I want to share with you in this process today is the fact that with the elephant philosophy and what I'm sharing with you as far as finding your purpose in life and as far as figuring out why you're on this planet, is the brainstorming you're going to have, these best practices, you're going to be doing some self-reflection. And when you're doing the self-reflection, how do you capture your thoughts? How do you capture your thoughts? So in the training that you went through, I hit the 5 key points or 4 key points of brainstorming. And I wanted to review those and give you a little bit of a visual to this. First of all, favorite pen. You got to find your favorite pen. And as I shared with you before, I happen to use the Signo pen, which is the Uniball pen, and it's a gel pen. I love it. And it just really flows whenever I put that pen to paper. And you want to find that pen that works best for you. So go to Staples or Office Max, Home or Office Depot, and find that favorite pen that you want to work with. Also, you notice that the different colors they have here. Find your favorite color, that favorite pen in your favorite color, and then have extra colors for that. The second thing I talked about was music as a background. And I really think it's important not to have music that has lyrics with it, where the lyrics and the words being spoken, or if it's too loud, are going to interfere with your thoughts. You don't want that. So again, I talked about Pandora, finding favorite station, and I've got a couple suggestions that we'll get to in a little bit. So music is an important part of brainstorming for me. It always triggers certain thoughts, certain things in my head. And then the next thing I talk about are finding your favorite place. And I say at home and on vacation. So at home, you want to find that place. This is what my house looks like. The favorite chair I have, it's a wingback chair, and it's a place that has a window that I get to look out. And you want to have a place like this in your home. So find that place. And when you do your brainstorming, as we're going to be talking to, if you can be sitting there, that's great. If you're in front of your computer, that's good as well. But when you're doing it on your own, again, how are you doing that? How are you doing that self-evaluation? And that's where you want to be able to capture your thoughts. When you're on vacation, this is my favorite spot down here. This is a view. This is an actual view in Maui that you can see the shade that is right there. I love going to this spot when I have to do some brainstorming. And so this island that I see out from the beach there is Lanai. And it's a very sort of private part of the beach that I found in Maui. And that's where I go. So I put my headset on, get my favorite music, have my pen, have my chair that I bring along with me, and I start my brainstorming there. Again, if you want to supercharge your brainstorming, say some prayers. If you're a prayerful person or spiritual person, say a prayer before you start it. And you'll be amazed at what happens. If you're not a prayerful person, well, then at least do some meditation to it. Quiet your mind to that point. So as we go through, again, my whole concept of brainstorming changed when I was introduced to this gentleman, Tony Buzan. And again, he introduced a concept called mind mapping. And he is the inventor of mind maps. And he has written 23 books. This is just one of them, the ultimate book on mind maps. And it's really an important thing that you want to, it changes everything. So you'll see this is what the synapse sort of look like in your brain. And Tony Buzan is famous for studying the brain and how it works. That's why his 23 books are how do we think as people? How do our brains work? So there's 3 main key points with regard to brainstorming. Number 1, and again, this is in regard to mind mapping, the way Tony Buzan has taught us. Number 1, our brains always like to look at the center of the page. So you see over here, you always start with a brainstorming page that actually puts your main idea in the center of the page. Our minds, when our eyes look to the top of the page, that's not how it works. That's not where we're most comfortable. So the idea behind what he says, if you want to really let your ideas flow, work together with how your brain thinks. And one of them is we think at the center of the page. So whatever your main idea of what you're trying to brainstorm, put it in the center of the page. Number two, thought branches. Once you have that main idea in the center of the page, like in this example here, if you're looking at your future, then these branches come out from those thoughts. And these branches have one or two words that you'll, in this case, food, health, family, love, sports and fun, education, your job. These are all things and ideas that flow out of it. And when you're thinking naturally like your brain thinks, they come out of that. So you want to draw lines that are curved, not straight. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And then number three, the third point that Tony Buzan makes is that our brains think in color and our brains think in images. So as you see here, a mind map like what he is suggesting is created, that you create and you get the most out of your thinking is number one, make sure it's in color. And number two, attach an image to it. You'll remember it much more quickly, and it'll last a lot longer in memories. Okay, now here's an example of a blank brainstorming sheet. Now you'll see it does follow the first concept, which is main idea in the middle. But then it goes away from, and something that I started doing with my brainstorming is I started not even drawing lines to it and just throwing ideas on the page. And I didn't realize how sort of detrimental it was on my free flowing thinking. So this is actually not a great mind map. So what I did was I included in one of the tools I included was a hand-drawn mind map. And it starts with a blank sheet. So you can download this from your resources tab. And you're always going to have a blank, in the center. And then I start with 6 lines, and you can have as many lines as you want. But basically, whatever your thought is that you put in the middle of the page, write that in there. And then you start to draw these branches out of the different ideas that you have. And then you put the words right here up on top for this one, or in another, you just write one word on it. Here's an example of what that looks like. Tony Buzan created one of his own profile using his software that creates a mind map. So he had a picture of himself, and he had all these categories: software, founder, advice, and that's how the brain thinks. These curved lines is when that thought comes. And Tony Buzan was an educator. So you draw the line. He educated children and adults. He had a picture of a child there. Media, how do we do it? Well, he did lecturing, okay? He did podcasts or TV things. And again, he was the founder of Mind Map, speed reading, and Brain Trust Charity is what it's called, and championship memory competitions he had. So anyways, when you do a mind map like this, this is the kind of thing that lets you think about ideas in a faster way. They're more creative, and it lets you be the most, when you're trying to be the ideal person, what's the best version of yourself? You got to come up with ideas, and you got to have free flowing thinking. So whenever you're brainstorming, that's what you want to do. Here's an example. One of my long-term goal when I was brainstorming, in the center of it, I put long-term goals, and I threw all over the page. As you can see, I didn't follow 2 of the rules. Number 1, which are using curved lines of drawing a thought, and I had a lot of words on here. So not that this was a bad brainstorm, but it would have been more effective if I did it where, hey, long-term goals, and I would draw a curved line, and then I would get to my elephant hunting workshops or my elephant workshops, or down here when I was talking about with regard to writing my book or my nonprofits and so forth. So that's just a little bit of the last thing I want to close with is, remember, I talked about creating radio stations on Pandora. So first of all, as I instructed you to do, go ahead and create an online account if you don't have that. And then these are the stations I want you to create. And I gave you these in the homework assignment, but I'm going to also have it here so you can actually come back and pause this presentation if you want to just write these down. Again, it's Ocean Waves Radio, New Age Ambient Radio. My favorite is Chakra's Dream Radio. That one really has some really cool music that, again, there's no words to it, there's no lyrics, so it doesn't interfere, and I'm able to play that, and it's really amazing how it encourages me to think even greater thoughts. It's interesting. Calm meditation radio, and then relaxation radio. So there you have it. That's a picture of brainstorming. I hope this is helpful, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next session.